All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. We're here for core PPI and Canada jobs, and my name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-Minute Trades. Remember that all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully, please. And this morning, because I'm looking to trade two different trades, I'm going to keep the news off to the side because it just takes up too much space, and I don't want to leave it so that my charts are too small to trade. So I also hear the news results in my headset because we use Financial Juice, and they have a talking squawk box, so I can hear the news, which is helpful. The numbers that we're really looking at, it would really be great if you could just check a box or check a line on investing.com and just show that particular line, because then I would just show the PPI month over month, and I would just show the Canada employment change number. In other words, just those two. Then I could watch my news. But that's not their purpose. Their purpose is not to help us and to be an aid for people who trade like us. They have a completely different purpose. So it's not really something that I don't even think they would be interested in it. So this has been a little bit of a strange short week of trading. The results have been a little bit weird. The volumes seem to be a little bit low. Liquidity is a little bit low. So I wouldn't trade large today. I originally was really feeling this would be a much more normal week than it has turned out to be. So I would be conservative. We just want to get through, and it's also it was a very big Jewish holiday this week. That reduces volume. I mean, the most serious of the year. A lot of people don't come back from Labor Day. They take extra days also. So, and then to complicate things a little bit extra on Canada, it's like rollover. So the volume, liquidity and volume is not quite normal today. So all the more reason to just be conservative and careful. We really want to get through another week or so. And then I think things will be much more, I hate to use the word normal, but things will be more normal. Volume will pick up. So that's what I'm thinking about the markets these days, this week. Last month, we traded PPI. It was awful. I don't know if you all remember. There was way too much news, and it was a whipsaw and just a terrible, terrible trade. This is a different situation. My feeling is when PPI trades by itself, that's when I'm willing to consider it a money trade, because when it trades by itself, it has very good results. And today it's by itself. So, and if you look at the DMM, that's the way the DMM is being dealt with. So here's the daily report. And when you notice, let's see, 100's a little big. If you notice the dates, July, April, March, in other words, when it trades by itself, it's been trading well. Okay. So like I said, today it's trading by itself. So I'm willing to trade it as a family trade. Because of the week though, I'm not going to go large today. I'm going to go average, just 2 or 3 contracts, nothing major. Just a heads up. Okay. It's trading by itself. Canada jobs. The funny thing about Canada jobs is last month, we canceled the trade. The news didn't come out properly. So you just have to be very aware, no matter what you trade, no matter what you do, you just want to be aware and ready that if things don't appear normal, then don't trade. There's no, I say this every day. There's no law that requires you to take a trade. If you don't like it, if you don't like the setup, if you don't like the instrument, you don't want to pick and choose every single trade, because you never can pick and choose all the right ones. In other words, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. When you have a quote unquote system, you want to trade most of the trades in the system. If you just pick and choose all the trades in the system, you never pick right. And it's not because there's something wrong with us, or we're fools, or we're dumb. I mean, it's just the nature of trying to pick. You just can't pick them right. It's like you can skip a trade here and there, but I wouldn't look at every single trade and go, gonna trade that, not gonna trade that, gonna trade that, not gonna trade that. I think that makes it harder to succeed. I think if you occasionally get to a trade that you haven't done well with, or you have difficulty managing it, then it's okay to pass on a trade. Or if there's something going on in the markets or in the world that makes event trading, it's being overwhelmed by world politics or world news. There might be reasons that a trade shouldn't be taken because of what's going on in the world. Okay. Those are all issues that affect what you want to do. And hey, sometimes you might wake up and not feel well. What if you wake up and you just don't feel right, or your eye is bothering you, or your stomach's upset, you can't concentrate, or your kid got in trouble at school or whatever. Those are, sometimes you just got to take a trade off. It's you want things to be right. You want to put the odds in your favor that things are going to go well. So at least all you have to worry about is the trade. You don't want to have to worry about what's going on at the doctor's office, or what happened in school, or you understand what I'm saying. It's also why it's silly and it seems like common sense, but you should have an office and a place that's quiet and calm that you trade. You need to concentrate, you need to practice, you need to focus. And these are all things that affect how well we do at our jobs. Let's take a look at one quick video of PPI. This was July. And you could see there was pretty strong, let me turn off my audio. There was pretty strong pre-trade movement. And someone had mentioned that, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Did the pre-trade movement worry you about the trade? And the trade worked fine, even though there was a lot of pre-trade movement. Normally, we see a lot of pre-trade movement in lots of indexes before lots of trades. As a general rule, I would prefer if there's not a lot of pre-trade movement, but we don't always get what we prefer. Okay. Now, what happened in 2 months ago, PPI, I was very lucky in a way. I was holding my stop, and Ninja thought Ninja couldn't find it because I had not released it. It was not in a state that it could be found. And that's why I generated the software error, but I also prevented myself from being stopped out because I was watching the price action and waiting for it to go back into the positive area, and it did. And then I dropped my stop. In other words, if you're moving an order, it's not active. And that's what happened. It was choppy. It hit my, I believe that it, no, it didn't. Yeah, it hit my first target of 5 ticks. And as I was moving my stop, I was holding it. And I was fortunate that price reversed in my favor. And then I was able to drop my stop onto the chart. And that wound up being a pretty nice trade because of that. So PPI's been, it's definitely had some chop to it, and it's been a trade that has had its days. So I would trade carefully today. I wouldn't get greedy on targets. I would go, you know, I think the trade report is pretty right on the targets. And then Canada jobs. The thing with Canada jobs is it almost always, I'd say about 80% of the time it trades with US jobs, and it very, very often has a very solid move. Ironically, last month, it didn't, the news in Canada just got released haphazardly, and we wound up canceling the trade. But I've done a lot of testing on Canada jobs, and you know, Canada normally is not a tremendous amount of risk because it's $5 a tick. And I think that Canada jobs has potential to be a good moving report, and the testing and some live trading as well has been profitable. So again, these are not what I would say top tier family trades, but I still think that the reports and the way they react is in our favor for them to be good. Look at one of the Canada jobs. This is what I would look to expect if you're going to have a good report. You know, that's the normal kind of report that we want to see, the normal kind of reaction. And that day, there was a very good sized news result also. In other words, there were a lot more jobs created than expected. And that always is important in what happens to us in our trades. Don't ever forget that the news is a big deal, and what happens because of it drives the trades. Okay, that's what creates the move, the news. And that particular month, it was a very big, unexpected result. There were a lot more jobs created than they expected. So my setup on Canada, there's no DMM for Canada. It is a report that we used to trade years ago. And if these trades start really coming back month after month after month, then we'll generate reports for them again. So just because it doesn't have a report doesn't necessarily mean it's not good to trade. It just means that it might be new to what we're doing. It might be an older report that has gone out of, has been less impactful and is starting to get impactful again. Those are the reasons why there might not be a DMM. So on this particular report, I'd rather not get filled. In other words, I want a big move. So my bracket is 10. If I don't get a big move pretty quickly, my gut result, my gut feeling is to cancel Canada because normally a jobs report should give you a pretty quick reaction, and if it's going to work, it should be sizable. Okay. If the news is matching, in other words, if the result is expected, then I generally don't really want to trade expected results. In other words, if the news is exactly what they were thinking, that often leads to a dull reaction. And the crazy thing about trading events is there's no always. Sometimes it'll be dull, sometimes it won't, but it is a little bit more often than not that you'll get dull, okay, when something is matching news. So I'm trading 3 on Canada, and I'm just looking for 6 and 11 and 16 ticks. And if we get a good move, I'll be pleased because it'll go through my targets. My stop is 12. And the entry time is 8:30. And it is, or I'm trading it for real. And I'll label it so I can tell the difference between this trade and my other trade. And then don't forget, we'll be back here at 11:30 for WASD. So I'm using a big bracket because my testing showed that that's what kept me safe with this report over the past 6 to 8 months. A big bracket kept me safe. And I'm using a 6-tick profit, an 11-tick profit, and a 16-tick profit with a 12-tick stop. And the entry time I'm using is 8:30. It's a breakout trade. That's my setup. And then PPI. $8.30, Mark. PPI, the only thing I'm doing differently is I've been trading it with a bracket of 6. I think the gold markets are volatile, and I just like a bracket of 6 at a minimum on most gold trades these days because of the market volatility. If you get a good spike, it's not going to hurt your trade. That one extra tick, you could make your target 4 instead of 5, but generally when this trades by itself, the moves have been decent. So I think if your targets are 5 and 10, I think that's a good, reasonable, conservative way to trade this particular report. You could do 4 and 8 on your targets. You don't have to use the biggest targets. You could do 4 and 20. So if it's an unusually large move, you could take advantage of that extra move. And because I'm doing 2 things at once, I'm definitely playing it more to the smaller side, 5 and 10, and I'm trading smaller also, because if I have to manage, I might wind up in a situation where I have to manage 2 trades at once. Canada's 8:30, not 59. For me, it's 8:30. If I have 2 trades that I have to manage at once, okay, then I want to give myself the greatest opportunity for the trade to be over if it happens fast. If you use large targets like 5 and 20, then the odds are much greater you're going to have to manage your way out of the trade, okay? And if you're trading just one event, that's fine, because you can give the trade your full concentration. So I don't recommend that if you're not very comfortable with our system, and if you're new, just pick a report and trade one. Don't trade both unless you are really a comfortable Ninja trader. Okay? Don't because it's trickier, much trickier to trade two things at once. Just remember, what's that ridiculous? It's not a sprint, right? It's I forget the statement, but you know what I mean. We're not sprinting. We kind of want to walk fast to our targets. If you sprint all the time, you run out of gas, right? It's not, what is it? It's not a marathon. I don't remember what I'm trying to say, but I think somebody out there probably knows. So I'm using a bracket of 6. I'm just trading 2 targets, okay? Because let's be truthful with each other. These reports, they're not tier 1 family reports, okay? And I'm saying that up front so people know. WASD has been a tier 1 report, but I have to be truthful. This week, I really was taken aback by this week. It's put me on edge a little bit. So again, a bracket of 6, a target of 5, a target of 10, an entry time of 8:29.59, and that's it. Very simple trade. I'm using a bracket of 6. The DMM has 5. Remember, put your charts on the way that you're going to trade them and then enable your trade. And let's check our time sync. 6C is a 10. The way that I sync my computers, I go to the website time.is and I sync, okay? There are tools in the room drive, in the taskbar, in the trade room software that you can download to help put your computer in sync. Don't forget, you've got atomic clock up there, and you've got dimension 4. So you could see, gold opens at 8:20, and that's what you're seeing there. The gold, in the old days, there used to be a gold pit, and so there's still a reaction to the gold open, which is 8:20. There used to be so many what we call pit trades. The oil had a pit. Bonds, I think, still might have a pit. I believe the S&P still has a pit. They haven't closed all the pits, and the pits weren't closed because of what's going on in the world. I think that the pit, at least I don't think that's why they were closing the pits. They were started closing them, I think possibly because of electronic trading and there being less people in the pits. And now I see there's a lot of people watching on YouTube. How about giving us a couple of likes? We stream every week, multiple times a week, to try and teach and show you what it's like to trade events. It would be really nice if a couple of you gave us a like. It really helps us with Google. And I'm a nut when it comes to time sync. I like to sync my computer regularly just because I'm a nut. What could I tell you? I like to sync. I like to be in sync. So I'm watching the news off to the side. I don't want it on my chart, okay? Because if it's on my chart, it makes it really hard to trade Canada if I need to do anything. So I'll try to speak the news if I hear it, and if I can speak the news, trade two trades, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you just have to concentrate. So I'll do my best to tell you what the news is, because as I said, I'm hearing the news in my ear. On the mic that I use, it's also a headset, and I'm listening to Financial Juice, and Financial Juice has a Squawk Box as part of their website, and the pro version, which isn't free, but it's very fair in its pricing, you can hear it. It's pretty awesome. Years ago, we used to subscribe to a company called Talking Forex, and they were in England, really nice people, and they went out of business. I think it's one of the first trading companies I ever knew that we were partners. They were like a good partner, and they went out of business. I couldn't believe it. It was like the first trading partner we ever had that just didn't make it, and they had a great service. And Squawk Boxes have a history of being very expensive. And they're different also, different in terms of where do they get their news results from. There are, some very expensive sources of data that people pay a lot of money for, that professional traders pay a lot of money for. It's like, when you go into your stockbroker's office, if you do that anymore. Most people probably don't anymore. We do everything online. But when you used to say go into your stockbroker's office, they had all these interesting feeds and data and things that weren't available to us. What's great is that now so many things are available to us. You just have to pay. So Canada, they're expecting a mediocre job report. That's what they're expecting. And the price index in the US, it looks like they're expecting the prices to be a little bit higher. It's actually mixed what they're expecting. Overall, I'd say a little bit higher. Month over month, maybe not. So we want to keep an eye on the move with PPI. $12 is the stop on Canada for me. Tess, I don't know what you're talking about. I answered every question on there. So type it again. $60 is 12.21. I'm just curious, can you see that or not? Can you not see that on the chart? Just curious, because my chart's on 12.21. Gold is 12.21. You should have gotten a notice from Ninja that should have put you on guard to check volume on your instrument. When you booted up your Ninja today, there should have been a note, not a note, but a heads up that some of the currency futures were rolling over. I'm curious, did everybody get that the way that I got it? I booted up my Ninja this morning, and it was clear that it's a new feature that Ninja 7 never had, where they would show you, they want to automatically get rid of your contracts. That's what I don't like about the way that Ninja does it. If you agree and leave all the check marks checked, then it erases your previous contract. So I use the heads up by seeing what they're telling me, but I uncheck all of the boxes because we do so much testing. I don't want to have to re-enter all my instruments for testing again. So what I found at least when I first started using that heads up feature that they gave for rollover, is that it removed my instruments. And it's sort of like it's almost as if Ninja has a policy where they're playing down data and testing. In other words, they've reduced the amount of months they give you of data. And I think they're making a mistake because data and playback, things of that sort, are possibly one of the strongest features of the platform, I think. So I'm going to keep my eye on Canada. I'd like to see a good reaction. I'd like to see a good reaction from both, obviously. So my bracket, so beautiful on our gold trade. And here's Canada. So if it reverses, so I'm not real interested in giving anything back on a move that didn't work. Okay, so maybe I jumped the gun, but I'll take 215 on a quick PPI trade. I think we got a gift from the market this morning. Canada by itself just may not be ready for prime time. I don't like that it's been 2 months in a row now, so that's why I got my butt out of that trade fast. It may still work. The news was very, very positive. Here's why we got lucky on PPI. All of the news. And look, Canada is going to work, it looks like, but maybe not. The news was negative on Canada, and it went the wrong way. The U.S. news was positive, and it initially went the wrong way. We got a gift from the market, okay? We definitely got a gift from the market by having a winning trade in the wrong direction. Now, sometimes we say it's the wrong direction, but if we analyze this, sometimes it's not the wrong direction. So let me explain what I mean when I say the wrong direction. Before the world crisis began, gold almost always, it was so regular. It was very reliable. If news was good, gold would go down. If news was bad, gold would go up. And you could take that to the bank. After the world crisis began and the markets changed, the way that gold and cryptocurrencies became popular, the way that gold responds to events has changed. But there's something important that you have to realize. Sometimes you can't just take what happened in a trade you can't just take the news on face value. Sometimes, because you're looking at prices, and if producer price index is all up, then that's not good news. Okay, that's actually bad news, because it might be bad news. It might mean that inflation is too hot. So you can't always take things just simply on face value. And it makes it tricky for us because sometimes you don't have time to analyze in 1 second what the report is. And so you take that move to the wrong, quote unquote, wrong side, and you happily deal with it. Okay? Jody, just to respond to what you're saying, don't feel like you necessarily missed a trade. A lot of times in sim, especially if your internet is slow, you might get really, really bad fills, okay? You might get, what is the speed? Do a speed test. Go to Ookla, and see what happened on your speed test. Now, Alonzo, I mean, I can't tell you why you didn't get filled. I mean, that was not a very fast trade. You could send me your settings by email. I could look at your settings and see if you set something wrong. It's very possible that you set something wrong. Or it's very possible, I don't know how fast your internet is. There's, 6C, Michael, was lousy. That's why I got out fast. I think I lost a tick, 6C, it didn't have a good reaction. I jumped out. It's perfectly okay. It wasn't a big loss. I mean, I don't think anyone should have lost more than $30 on Canada. And look, that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal. You don't have to trade. You didn't have to trade both of them if you didn't want to. It could have been two great trades, and we'd be sitting here up $400. But PPI by itself is showing that I think it's a family money trade. It traded beautifully. That was a beautiful trade. Let's look at the video. Let's look at the video. Josh, if you were patient, were you patient on Canada? Were you patient on Canada? Is that why it worked for you? Did you stay in longer? Alonzo, I would say absolutely you must be doing something wrong. So send me your setup, pictures of your setup. Okay. Send me your setup. Mark, if you want to send the output, I can let the programmer look at it. I would also not trade very heavy this week. I mean, that's the truth. The liquidity, as I said over and over, is lousy. And what you're seeing is liquidity problems. I can tell you that definitively. It's liquidity issues. There's also a lot of people trading the same thing now because people are stubborn and they're going to do exactly what I do. So you've got all of these folks now in the room, right? Trading the same thing, everybody should skip an order. Don't do the exact same thing as me. Trade four for a target instead of 5. Change it up a little bit. It'll help us all, actually. If we all do exactly the same thing in days, this week is a low liquidity week, a low volume week. I mean, when I looked at the volume on Canada, when we got the heads up that it was rolling over, I definitely saw that it was low volume. And I know that Canada is low liquidity by its nature. It's low liquidity by its nature. That is Canada. That is gold. That is, who else is low liquidity? A lot of indexes are low liquidity, not bonds. Bonds give you very, very thick amounts of orders. Okay, so I'm going to show the video in 1 second. I want to take a picture of the profit. Bear with me, folks. So that was nice to have a nice little trade, whether things were perfect or not perfect. It seems like everybody made a profit. And Mark, I want to tell you something interesting, or I'll send you an email, Mark. I'll send you an email over the weekend. There's all sorts of new error testing that we're testing in the program. And Mark is a programmer. He had a really interesting idea for error testing. And I'm actually having the programmer program one of his ideas because I really liked the idea. And the programmer liked it also. And the only problem with testing errors is you have to test it live. You can't use Sim to test how your error handling is. Because remember, Sim doesn't always give you proper slippage. It doesn't give you the same fills that you get in real life. So when you program new error handling, you might have to lose some money if your ideas are bad. You got to check, but you know, that's true of all your testing, okay? All your testing. Sometimes you have to lose money to make money, and that's testing. Let's take a look at the video. But it wasn't a fast trade, Mark, so I'm very, very surprised you had any issues at all, to be honest. That was not, I mean, we'll look at the video. We'll see how fast that trade is. Sometimes I think of trade isn't fast from when we were trading, and then we look at the video, and I totally changed my mind and realized it was much faster than I thought. So let's take a look. I'm just saving and rendering the video. It takes a second. All right, so here's the video. So watch the left. Canada just was not a good response. And, it might be that the Canada response is so much stronger when it trades with the US that it may make sense to trade Canada and US at the same time. It was pretty fast, and it reversed pretty darn fast, too. It was pretty fast. It was faster than I was thinking, but still, it's interesting how sometimes you'll have a move it was, to me, that the reversal was very fast. That reversal was very fast. And so remember what I said, that my targets were very manageable. And you can see that it's a low volume wick above where we got taken out. And I think it was a good call to keep the targets conservative, especially with the way things have been trading this week. For me, Alonzo, an optimal account size is the maximum you can afford. I would not trade any system with less than $7,500, but that's me. I don't want to, and that's not a lot of money. I realize that not everybody has a lot of money they can trade with, but I think if you're trading with $2,500, you have to, you could trade micros, but otherwise you're going to be so worried about having losing trades, it destroys your psychology. I like $15,000 as a minimum, personally. If I was going to tell somebody, you want to make success, you want to put success in your radar, the optimum amount of money to start trading for me would be $15,000 in a futures account to trade this strategy. That way you can trade decent size, you can trade without worrying about having a bunch of bad trades. It's all what helps you with psychology, okay? It's all what helps you with psychology. All right? That's the size of your account, and the amount of money that's in it has a massive effect on the way that you trade. And I'm always shocked, and it always is, but I understand, because I'm not a millionaire, and I understand what it's like to have not as much money as you'd like to have to do the things that you'd like to do. But I'm always surprised. There's something about trading that brings out the worst thinking in people, in us, in me also. When I say the worst thinking, what I mean is people are always thinking, what's the least I can do to help myself? When you should be thinking, what's the most I can do? What's the most I could put in my account? But the question I always get is, what's the least I can put in? But if you think about why that's such a negative concept, because if you use the least, then you have the most fear and worry, because you don't have enough money to get rid of your fear and worry. You follow? So that's why you ask, sometimes people will ask a question, and Alonzo, I'm not saying you, so don't take this the wrong way. I'm saying in general. You want to think, what can I do to make it the absolute best experience that I can have? So of course there's optimums and there's minimums, and we are going to eventually, and probably soon, do something with much smaller accounts. It's inevitable, because the reality is people have small accounts. We can't ignore that. We shouldn't ignore that. And I don't mean to say that you can't trade with small accounts, but it's a whole different strategy, and it's all different instruments that you have to think about trading. So you can't do it the way that a regular full-size contract trader would trade in a $4,000 account. You just can't. You could have one trade that could wipe out 20% of your account. It could happen. And you can't trade natural gas. You should not trade natural gas in a $3,000 account. You just shouldn't. I mean, I realize we've gone through a great period of natural gas, but it's like playing Russian roulette. That one bullet, it might end the game, right? It might end the game. So Albert, don't even bother checking. It was an incredibly fast reversal, and it's all an issue of when there's moves that are so fast, sometimes orders that you think are there are not in a state in which they can be filled. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So sometimes it'll think it's got a stop that will end the trade, and there's no stop, so an order gets placed because it thinks there's a stop. But sometimes the movement is literally in the same second. If you look at the execution speed, sometimes you'll see that there's so many events that try to take place at the same execution time. That creates chaos in events, and that is the risk of trading events. Every system has risks. Every system has things that make it difficult. Okay, so that's Ninja's. There's no point in emailing Ninja. They're going to say, talk to the programmer of the strategy you're using. So, and I'm telling you what it is. Okay, it will happen again. We're trying to get rid of it, but it's probably not possible to get rid of all errors because it's not possible to slow down fast markets. And there is no software in the world for retail traders that will allow us the speed to avoid those errors. That's the honest truth. I would think, you hear of even the highest level hedge funds blowing up. So it's trading. There's things that can happen even to the wealthiest, most connected traders where things can go wrong. So the important thing is to realize that these things can happen and be on your toes. So if it does, you can make sure you get out of the trade. You could right click. You can always right click and cancel all orders. If you right click on the chart trader, right click, cancel all orders, and always have the phone number of your broker handy. If something goes wrong, the trade desk, and you can't figure out what's going on, you can always call your trade desk and say, hey, am I out of all my orders? I'm confused. And I've had times when I was moderating the room and the US jobs report has had times where it moves so fast, faster than a lightning strike. And I had to call the broker and say, look, I think I'm in a trade, but I had such a weird thing happen, I'm not sure. And they happily will tell you, and you can reach them. You can try it, Mark. What I found is that feature will make you miss so many trades. It was a feature that we used in the past, and it was a feature that theoretically allowed us to control slippage. I always hated trading that way because you have to use limit orders to do that, and to do that part of the strategy. And if you use limit orders, you're going to miss a ton of trades. I would rather deal with all the problems and not miss trades than miss, because we're having a pretty high volume of good versus bad trades. So I don't want to miss trades when we're not trading as much as we used to. If you're trading 20 trades a week, then it's a different way that you might want to deal with things. And Tess, I like corn better. than soybeans. Soybeans are absolutely my second choice. Not even an issue for me. Soybeans are much more volatile, have much more slippage, have much more whipsaws. But that doesn't mean that corn can't do all the most horrible things in the world also. But corn overall is much better to trade, in my opinion. And exactly, Albert, sometimes you get put in on the wrong side. If you have your wits, or you get put in because the software thought you were out of the trade and you weren't, and you know what's going on, and you see the way price is moving, and you can benefit from it also. So I've had many times where things, quote unquote, went wrong and it worked in my favor, or there was positive slippage, or something didn't go the way you expected. And if you're driving in the Indy 500, right, and you're traveling at those incredible speeds, you're expecting things to happen that you don't expect. And that's the way you have to think about trading events. Trading events is, it's, you know, your grandmother, unless she's got a strong heart, probably won't enjoy trading events. And it's not, you know, I'm making a ridiculous analogy, but I think you get what I'm saying. I mean, some grandmothers probably would love trading events. Yeah, and I think so too, Chantal. All the contracts being placed at exactly the same time by too many people. Absolutely, and in a week of really mediocre liquidity. And it turned out that the move was faster than we thought. You put all those pieces together. All right, folks, make sure that all your orders are canceled. We'll be back at 11:30. 11:30 for WASD. Jody, did I answer your question? I don't remember if you had a WASD question. Speed of the internet. How slow is speed? I really try not to panic, Tess. I definitely, but if you notice, I did panic. I did panic. You just didn't notice it. I panicked on Canada, right? If I show you the video, you could see me panic, right? Let's be honest. If we're brutally honest, watch me panic. Watch Canada. I mean, I knew what was going on in my head. I saw that had a very nice little profit on the PPI. And I mean, I wouldn't call it panic, but I was jumping. I was trying to I wanted to get out of that Canada trade. First of all, my bracket was too darn big. And the trade worked on the other side. I guess I wasn't panicking. No, I guess I wasn't panicking. But I wanted out. I saw that the price wasn't moving up. Okay. I saw the price wasn't moving up. I guess I wasn't. I wouldn't call that panicking. So there, you know, Tess, I appreciate you saying that. It took me a very, very long time to be able to talk while I was trading and not panicking. I try. I generally don't panic anymore. You just, for me, I hate getting stopped in front of people, but because there's so many trades and there's so many trade rooms, if I let it bother me, it would ruin my life. So it doesn't bother me. I mean, sometimes if a trade's incredible and I miss it, it will bother me for a couple of hours. But generally, probably one of the best things I can teach is to leave everything behind and just go on to the next trade as if you never traded before that day, so that you don't let a previous bad trade affect what might be a great trade. And so many times when I was a new trader, I would let my previous trade either prevent me from trading again that day, and of course you miss a great winner, or it would prevent me from trading the way I should normally trade, and I would make my stops smaller and I'd get stopped out, or I would do foolish things because of fear of what happened before. So the one best thing I can teach is trade every trade as if it's the first trade of the day, and that the markets are really good for trading. That you want to have that positive attitude. And I will put my chart in Sim. One thing that Ninja does is if you're done trading and you put your charts in Sim, if by some chance you have an open order, and it's not always correct, but it will tell you if you have an open order when you change your charts from sim live to sim. Sometimes if there's a crazy trade and it puts a random order on the chart, it may not be a real order, but it will give you a heads up. And you can look, you can look, check and make sure that your money is not changing, right? So if you have a very, very, very fast machine, you can reboot the platform, bring the platform back up. Sometimes that's as fast as calling a broker if you have a problem. But we haven't had a call your broker trade in a long time. But we are seeing, because of ultra fast markets, more errors than we've had. And that's why we're visiting error handling. And I'm talking to the programmer for the past 3 weeks about it. And we're almost done with the update, but it requires so much testing. I don't know how I'm going to test this. So it's going to be challenging to test the error handling. Anyway, any other questions, folks? So Jody, the speed is 1.29 is yes, 1.92. It's definitely slow. I mean, I remember the days when that was good speed, Mine is like a gig. My speed's really fast. And I trade, there are things that you can do to get your speed as high as possible. Don't trade wireless, trade wired. If you talk to your service provider, they will not guarantee the speed you pay for on wireless either. They'll tell you that if you're going to complain about your speed, you have to test your speed being wired. They'll definitely not support lower speeds if you're wireless. So what does that tell you? It tells you you're going to get your best speed if you can wire. And it makes sense. It does make sense. So if you trade from a laptop and your laptop doesn't have a port, you can get a dongle usually that'll give you a port. Yeah, me too, Joey. I mean, I do sometimes trade on my laptop if I'm testing reports in the middle of the night and I don't want to get up. I'll trade from my bed, throw my laptop on my stomach and trade. And I will trade live that way sometimes too. But I probably won't trade like a jobs report that way. But I might trade, a European industrial production report or something like that. So it also, the speed of the event that you're trading always is going to be impacted by your connection. There's certain things that you can, there's a whole bunch of things you can do to optimize your speed. Resource use, make sure that you don't have scanning programs running in the background. And so how do you check your resource use? If you go to your computer's taskbar, the Windows taskbar, and you right click it, you can go to Task Manager. And when you watch Task Manager, you could actually see what processes are using extra memory or CPU. But importantly, you can click on Startup. And I have almost every single program that tries to run on Startup turned off, disabled. Why do you need your browser or Skype to be running in the background on Startup when you're trading? You don't. You don't need Spotify running in the background when you're trading, right? So go to your taskbar, click on Startup, right-click your taskbar, and go to Task Manager, and then go to Startup, and disable everything that you have that's everything especially foolish that you don't need running in the background when you're trading. And that helps with resources. Resources meaning what other things is your computer doing at the same time that you're trading. You want to reduce those resources so your machine will operate as fast as it's capable. And that also means optimizing your computer, clearing your cache regularly, removing your temporary files regularly, things like that. You want to, it's like tuning up your car. Not necessarily saying you should buy a tune-up program, because you can Google optimize Windows and you can go through the steps on your own. A, learn a lot about your computer. B, not pay for a program that's going to run in the background and actually use resources when its point is to reduce your resources. You know, a cleaning program. Most of the cleaning programs now are virus programs also, and security programs. You don't have to have your security program running at the moment that you're trading. You can disable it and then turn it back on when you're not trading so that you don't forget, because you do want to avoid malware, obviously, and ransomware attacks. So you don't want to go on the internet without having a malware program running in the background. The only time I turn those things off is when I'm trading. Be aware that streaming, of course, streaming of the trade room does use resources, absolutely uses resources. You can listen to the trade room on mobile. You could listen to the trade room on a tablet. You could use a laptop to listen to the trade room. I listen to our streaming. I would never use my trading computer to listen to our stream on YouTube. So I listen to our streaming on a separate laptop. I try to do everything possible that I can do to keep my resources as low as possible. For us, you know, I need to stream the trade room because it would just be untenable to do trade room communication and trading from multiple computers. I don't think I could do it. So there are certain things that we give up as a company in terms of resources to offer you all a good experience. But also we get fast internet and we have a fast computer. So there's things you just want to, there's a big picture to everything. It's not just come into the trade room and start trading. There's a big picture and you want to make sure that you have all the pieces in place. That's all. All right. Everybody good? So I'll see everybody at 11:30. Any questions? I was yakking. I didn't stop yakking. So now I'm done. All right. I'll see everybody at 11:30 for WASD. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like Friday today, but it's Friday. So I'll see everybody in a little bit. You're welcome, Jody. See you all in a little bit. I know I didn't close down, folks. I was just looking to see who was here. I didn't look at everybody that was here. Tom, did I send you an email that your, whatchamacallit, your IDs were active? If you're still here, Tom, and listening. Did I send you an email? I should have last night. Good. Okay. And I didn't mean to blow you off yesterday when you said you had an error. I hope you didn't think I was blowing you off yesterday. So if I didn't answer you properly, let me know. All right. I think I was a little quick. Okay. I think we've covered it a lot. So, and we'll continue to cover it. Definitely, because it is a nemesis. It is a nemesis that we have to deal with. All right, folks. I was just peeking to see who was here. There were a lot more people here 5 minutes ago, so people got tired of hearing me talk. So I'll see everybody at 11:30. All right, folks.